Hi, and welcome to the first video in a new series highlighting the role police have in our society and how we respond to them. The video we are about to watch comes to us from the Chattanooga Times Free Press, and I'll link to the original raw video in the description below. There is also a link to the article they published regarding this matter, which I strongly encourage you to read over, as it is quite an interesting situation. Now, in this video, we witness a major disagreement between the Cleveland, Tennessee police and the Bradley County Jail, which is so severe it results in the release of a suspect they just arrested. This entire video is badge cam footage from the Cleveland police officer put in the middle of this mess, quite against his will. Now, he does his job very well, as you will see, but ultimately his arrest is not processed by the jail. The first thing I want to note here is that the captioning in the videos were created by the Chattanooga Times Free Press. I have not added to or altered them. The first clip we will see is of the officer making the arrest of a suspect wanted on a felony warrant. Let's have a look.
Hey, you about to get tased! I'm coming! Please don't tase!
Okay, let's have a look at the arrest. Now, I haven't shown the entire clip, but we can see that the suspect at first tries resisting by running off. The officer gives chase and warns the suspect that he is about to get tased. After rounding the corner of the apartment building, the suspect is briefly out of view, and I think it's interesting to note that the officer seems fairly confident the suspect has not drawn a weapon in that brief period of time. The officer turns the corner, almost colliding with the suspect. Turning on a dime, he keeps the taser on point as the suspect decides a good tasing isn't in his best interests. The video is clipped here, so let's continue.
What happened? Why are you running?
Now, here it looks as though the officer was able to subdue and handcuff the suspect without incident. In this next clip, we come in a bit late. The officer is already at the jail, attempting to surrender the suspect for booking. It looks, though, like he's been there for some time without much success. Let's watch.
82 to 11. Can you start this way? They're wanting to refuse the subject.
The officer seems very frustrated. He is at the jail, in his car, radioing for a supervisor to come there, as the jail has refused to accept the suspect.
He's being redirected for medical care.
And I understand that.
Sir, we're not taking you in. Cobalt, we're not taking him in.
Listen, it's just my policy. I have to give you this.
It's our policy. We're not going to accept it.
That's fine.
We're not going to accept it. Do not accept any paperwork in hand, and that door is to remain shut all night long.
Wow. Now we start to see the reason for the jail's refusal. The person calling the shots here has stated that they are redirecting the suspect to medical, basically telling the officer that medical assistance is required. Therefore, not only are they refusing to accept the suspect for booking, they are refusing the paperwork and locking the door in case he or another officer tries to bring another suspect in for booking. I guess they feel that if any additional crimes are committed before morning, that the police department should keep the suspects in their car or just take the entire night off. Now, the question here is, can a jail refuse to accept someone who has been arrested? In the next clip, the Chattanooga Times Free Press gives us a look at the document the officer is trying to give them.
Listen, they said if you guys refuse, no matter what, that I'm waiting on my sergeant to get up here because this is the first time I've ever dealt with anything like this.
And I'll tell your sergeant that we're...
That's fine. I don't want there to be any problems. Don't be mad at me. Listen.
Oh, I'm not mad at you. I'm following our county policy and procedures and our TCA procedures as well.
That's fine.
You really have to feel for the officer placed in this situation. He risks his life to make a lawful arrest, only to be informed by his fellow law enforcement officers that he has wasted his time. In fact, they care so little about him as a person, they are refusing to even look at the documentation he is lawfully trying to provide to them. Unbelievable. Again, you really have to respect this officer. So, the officer has in his hands a document called Obligation of the County Jail to Accept Prisoners. It was issued by the State of Tennessee Office of the Attorney General. This is the document the jail is refusing to accept, as it is a directive from the Attorney General which states that the jail must accept all arrested individuals brought to them. They instead refer to their policy, which obviously contravenes the law of Tennessee.
Okay? The corrections officers can't control it if medical says no, okay? It's not, he's doing what his boss says, she's doing what her boss says. You see what I'm saying? It's not, nobody's mad at anybody. We just got to get through the procedure.
And needs stitches. We do not have the means to stitch up his arm. He has been redirected to a medical facility for stitching, and they will not leave the Sally Port. They're demanding that I take this subject in, and I understand that. They're telling me they are, and the CPD sergeant is allegedly on his way.
I just want to stop things there for a minute, as there is a lot to unpack here. First of all, it seems that rather than following the law, these corrections officers fall back on the excuse that they are simply following orders. Now, in the shot, we can clearly see what appears to be a medical officer in the background. She's been there the entire time, and based on what was just said, we can assume that she is the one who decided the suspect would not be admitted for booking based on a medical need for stitches. I don't think anyone would argue with the medical opinion given here. Obviously, this suspect does require stitches. That's a nasty gash, but under Tennessee law, as this is not an emergency medical condition, the jail is entirely responsible for arranging medical services. If they just did their jobs rather than resisting a lawful booking, the officer could then get back to his job, keeping the peace and saving lives. The corrections officer, however, is busy on the phone informing her supervisor that a police supervisor is on the way. Watch what happens next.
Pardon me? He's refusing to leave the Sally Port and said that I have to take this inmate. Thank you, ma'am. You can exit the Sally Port. We have nothing else to discuss.
Can I not wait on my sergeant?
No, sir.
In an unbelievable stand against the lawful processing of a suspect, the corrections officer orders the officer to leave the jail. He asks if he can wait for his sergeant, and they refuse him. It's truly stunning the level of obstruction occurring here. So, what would you do? Would you leave knowing that the corrections officers are breaking the law? Or would you follow lawful procedures and remain in place despite being ordered to leave? Let's see what he does.
Bradley, I'm trying to be a mediator here. Can you call your sergeant and see if you can wait on him outside that door?
He said don't move. My sergeant said don't move.
He's here.
Again, hats off to this officer. He remains on scene waiting for his sergeant to arrive. Note that they try one last time to get him out of the building, asking him to wait outside. I'm guessing the plan was to get him out and lock the doors so they wouldn't have to speak to the sergeant who, speaking of which, arrives just in time.
Hey, I'm Lieutenant Edwards.
Sergeant Mitchell.
Nice to meet you.
Here's what we've been instructed to do.
One moment. Yes, ma'am. Sergeant Mitchell is in the Sally Port, and they're saying what? He refused to leave, ma'am. He refused to leave. He refused to pull his car forward and leave. Okay, thank you. All right.
Before the sergeant can do anything other than introduce himself, the corrections officer interrupts him to take a call. It's a tense situation, but now that a senior law enforcement officer is on the scene, things should go smoothly, right? Let's see what happens.
Inside. We're not accepting
Okay. Did you give her that?
She's not accepting any of my paperwork.
Do you want a copy of this to read?
No, sir, we're not accepting any paperwork.
Okay. Do you know this is possibly criminal? Just let y'all know. Okay.
I'm acting under Bradley County Sheriff's Office policy, and my cat.
Well, we're asking you under the district attorney's office, so.
What do I need to do, Sergeant? What do I need to do?
Just write a report. Tell exactly what happened. Save your videos, and we'll forward it to the DA's office, like we were told to.
What do I do with him?
In an absolutely shocking move, the corrections officer tells all staff to exit back into the building while she terminates the conversation. Now the sergeant attempts to provide her with the paperwork, and she again refuses it. He informs her that this may be a criminal act, and she closes the door in his face. Wow, what a crazy situation. Now the officer is asking a very important question. What should he do with the arrested individual in his back seat? I know it's been a while since you heard from him, so I don't blame you if you forgot he was there. Let's see what the sergeant has to say.
Those are warrants, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let him go right outside that door.
And that's what I told Bradley, and I told Lieutenant. Nobody's hostile. Everybody's doing what their boss.
Well, thank you for watching that with me. I hope this video breakdown has helped you to understand that not all of the stressors a police officer faces are public. In a very real way, their own coworkers can destroy a day's work and cause unnecessary stress and risk to the public, despite the best efforts of officers of the law. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.